Hello, everybody. It's Tracy and Renaé here again from the Let's Go Talk Show. And I just want to say right up front, if you like what we talk about, please hit the subscribe button, the little bell to notify, and definitely leave us some comments. We wanted to start to have some of these, I guess, live, which is really like through Zoom, and have people join in on us and ask questions in that. But quite honestly, nobody has said anything. So we're going to sort of pass that by until people start to say, yeah, that would be great. I'd love to be on there and ask you guys some questions because we need to hear from you. We need to know what you want to hear about. Or if you want something expanded, let us know. Today, we've got very exciting things. Tracy's got some really cool stuff. And we're going to start off with her talking about the microcosmic adjustments, which, as we all know, are going to feed into other things, which is going to be awesome. And let us know your comments. Tracy, go. What do you got?
All right, so I think everyone is aware of there's a lot of things shifting in a big way in the external. Just, a lot. Good, bad, and different. There's a lot of change right now, which is awesome. Because change is, always happening. And I do think that we are dismantling a lot of the old to make way for the new. But I have had an awareness on these teeny microscopic micro changes that are happening internally in the body. Because I like, if you've, I like to watch the energetic fields of everything around, system structures, things, but I've been really drawn inward lately to kind of tune in what's happening inside of the body because I've always kind of known that the body's going to start changing down from a cellular level, from like a subatomic level. And, the guides have spoken to it. A lot of people actually now are speaking to that subject, which for me is super exciting because it means it's more in the forefront of everyone's awareness, which means it's, happening at an accelerated rate, blah, blah, blah. But and I do believe this is happening, well, for everybody at different levels. And it's all, again, it's that where you're at, what your reality is, what your perception is, what you're putting your intention and attention on. We're all doing this at different levels and on different timelines. So it's really cool, these little microscopic adjustments that are literally happening every millisecond inside your body. And what I do believe that allows is this, on a grand scheme, a massive transformation. And again, I like to use my own analogies. I like to come up with my own ways to describe what's happening and what it looks like. But for me, it's turning into my own version of my superhuman, which I love the Iron Man analogy, where you have this internal and external these reference points. It's just like this ongoing data streams. And what's cool is they're becoming so much more highly intuitive. It's almost we know so far beyond what we really know, and we know it before we're aware of it. And I bet once I say this, you're going to start noticing it in your life to the point that I'll give you an example. I love the examples. I'm watching a show with my daughter the other day, and we're like, oh, so this is going to happen. And she's like, stop it. You always do that. You always say what's going to happen on the show. And it pisses me off because you're always right. But it's kind of even on that level, like, I don't know. I just know. How can you not know? Like, it's totally written in the subtext, you know. Okay, you go, Renee.
What I love about that is knowing that everything is shifting in the body. Because I know a lot of times we talk about the energetic field and all of that. So really pay attention that things are shifting and we have to become aware of what's going on, what's changing in us. And what they're saying is everybody is so used to just moving forward and they're like, oh my God, I got this line, I have this. And then they start to put more energy to that because that's where your focus is. And they're saying with all of these changes in the physical form, it's literally responding to our thoughts magnified by like 100-fold. So if you're looking, they're telling us to look at what has changed to me. My goodness, look at how much younger I'm looking, or look at, not saying, oh, look at this wrinkle is gone, because again, you're putting the energy to the wrinkle, but to then like start to recognize and notice. And they said everybody's going to notice it in their eyes. Like if you start to look into your eyes, because exactly what Tracy said, it's happening internally, right? Everything's shifting there. Our eyes are the seat of the soul. So it's that part of when you start to see your eyes, the whites are going to get whiter, they're going to sparkle more. When you're noticing that, then you're able to clearly see what's happening to the physical form. Because they're saying right now, a lot of us are under these veils that, oh, I'm aging, so this is what's happening, or, I've never liked this about myself, or whatever. As you're changing internally in the DNA and the entire structuring is shifting and changing, you're letting go of the human consciousness of, oh, I hate this about me. I hate it. Like, because we can't have judgment in order to move forward and to do all the things that, become the superhumans that we truthfully are. We have to let go of the human elements, and the human element is all that judgment on ourselves. And as that's unfolding, you'll start to recognize, like, wow, my skin really is nice. And listen to what people are saying to you. If people are saying, oh my God, and I know they've been saying that to you, Tracy, my God, you're just glowing, everybody, you look younger, you look at whatever they're saying, pay attention to, and don't go into that, oh, I just, whatever. Don't make excuses. Just say thank you. Start to really say thank you, and start to look into the mirror or just your reflection if you're walking by a glass or whatever, and say something nice about yourself. Like, wow, I look awesome today. You have to start to reframe, because that's really going to go a long way with all of these internal changes and shifts that are happening. And they've also said a lot of people are coming into the awareness, and I don't know, like if you're not aware of this, you're going to be aware of it now that we're speaking of it, that all of this old stuff is coming up to the surface to get out. And I know we talked about that last time. I believe it was the last episode that we talked about that, where everything's coming up to the surface, all the old stuff to come up to get out finally. Well, in that, you might recognize, oh, this sickness or this little, whatever, I had this and I thought I was rid of it. And if there's even a minute little piece in us, it's coming up to get out. It's not coming up for you to buy into it and to, laminate about it and all that stuff. But what a part of that are these allergies that are happening. And I'm going to throw that back to you, Tracy, because I know you had a whole big experience with that. And I would love for people to experience and become symbiotic with everything. So your turn.
Okay. So, and I just want to add on to the piece about looks. I strongly believe, and I do feel, I know for me, it's more of this energy that you're putting out. And it's interesting that, and now I try and look at people and don't just look at the visual, like the actual look, but how do they feel? What's the energy? Because I'll even look at a picture of myself and then look in a mirror, and I'm like, God, that is so very, like someone will take a picture and I'm like, that's not what I look. And I know we've all experienced this because it's the angle, but it's kind of getting really cool. It's not just the visual that is emanating anymore. There's so much more in it that gives a projection of youth and vitality and just life force energy. It's really cool. Mm-hmm. Instead of just like, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I love that. That's like the golden thing, because what I love about that is you're also having people feel, which is the piece that they've been telling us is coming to life. That we have to feel things, because eventually the wording won't be there. We're going to have to, get into that point of, because the words are so limited. But if you're feeling what's going on in let me feel that whole energetic field of this person, not judging them for their human looks, because quite honestly, there's going to be a point where we can change that look like this. And I really believe it's in our lifetime, as we're doing the shape shifting and everything else. So let's start feeling that aspect. Okay.
Yes, I do too. Coming soon. You're
Mm-hmm.
going to feel people way before you actually see. That's where your interpretation point's going to be, is,
Mm-hmm.
like you're not going to be able to lie because it's going to emanate untrue. Anyway, I diverge. But anyway, that'll be a cool topic for another
But yeah,
day.
we love the diversions though. That's what we tend to do. We're like, "Rrr."
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, we could talk on that for hours. Okay, back to the allergies. Because I tend to bring examples and experiences in my life that lead me to discoveries, which can sometimes be quite frustrating, but clearly I love to do it. So if you listen to any of the past episodes, I had a mold thing, which, okay, that really put my attention on mold. I'm going to look into this relationship I have with mold. And sure enough, it really wasn't a big thing, but it gave me the opportunity. I heard this, someone else, Zach Bush, I got to credit. He said we're not in the right relationship with so much in life and nature. And that really resonated with me because we are defining our relationships by oh my God, mold, it's scary, it's bad, it can hurt you, can kill you. Hmm, it's just a fungi. They are like brilliantly intelligent. Why wouldn't I just jump in there and have a relationship and be like, hey, what's going on? And then I jumped into the EMFs, right? And then all of a sudden, oh my gosh, look at all this dirty electricity in my house and EMFs and radiation. Hey, let me talk to you. Let's have and I work with it. I use my magnetic field to be in relationship. Call me crazy until I'm the brilliant one. So anyway, on that note, I saw this, listened to a podcast, and they were doing this special, and you do 4 blood fingerprints and you can see your food sensitivities. Now, mind you, I'd done this a few years ago with my naturopath, and it was potatoes. Um, but I determined, probably talking to Renaé, that I believe that we're symbiotic with everything. So I'm going to look at my relationship with potatoes, and I tested it out. So I've been eating potatoes. Sure enough, I have no reactivity to potatoes anymore. Now it's to eggs, bananas, and cow's milk. So instead of freaking out, oh my God, I can never eat these things again, I am looking at my relationship with eggs. Like, where did we go wrong? Or not wrong, delete. Where did we get off path? Where did that relationship get distorted? And ironically enough, before I saw these results, I had listened to this thing about chickens and a factory, and it's not pretty. It's an awful story. You don't want to hear it. But it's almost like, I'm going to be the one to relook at this relationship with chickens and eggs and readjust the consciousness at a foundational level. Like, why? Why did we think that we could do this to these chickens and eggs? And I know gets deep, but here's the thing. I'm expressing this to you because this is what I do, and I invite whatever you want, or just listen to me and decide your whatever your reaction is. It's a really cool and I would think profound and potent way to go forward because I'm looking at my relationship with everything and I bring in these little ways that I can put a spotlight. Oh, you want me to look a relationship with eggs? Okay, let's go. You know what I mean? So it's fun, it's cool, it's interesting. And everything is so fluid. I'm going to throw this in and then I'm going to let you go, Renaé. In the same test, it did markers of zonulin, which I don't even really know what that is. You can look it up. But I also had another test, and the levels are totally different. Like, so in the other test, I'm going to be honest with you, it was a poop test. I love all the testing right now because there are opportunities for me to, and I'm going to throw this in, we have the ability right now to look at life on a variety of levels of understanding. So, at one level, I'm like, oh, this is interesting. We as humans take these tests to say what's going on in our body, and then there's all these variations of how we handle it. Now, another level I'm going to look at this is, isn't that interesting? Down here, don't what I just have to do it this way. Down here, you do this, but right here, you're perfectly whole. If you'd like to see it from that lens and perspective, isn't that interesting? But you know that this is the truth. So I'm just telling you, when I do testing, I always now, this is a new thing, have this reference set point knowing of I'm just tapping into a perspective because I know. And when I go to bed tonight, trust me, I will go into my zone of pure presence, pure creation, and I know the truth of my miraculous physical being, which, by the way, now when I say that, it's like, it's not miraculous. It just is. Like you're implying like it's the some great thing. It's not. It's just who you are. So stop putting it on a pedestal. So isn't that funny? Okay. You go, Renaé. I was just all over the place.
No, that is awesome because you're right. It is the perspective. And quite honestly, if you're doing a test, if you're doing some sort of test and it comes up with whatever, really tap into yourself on what is your truth in that moment. And as Tracy and I were talking before we started recording, and it really is like it changes second to second to second. Like, we're talking about this and it's already changing, it's already shifting. And so if you do a test and you tap in, you're like, oh my God, okay, I'm just going to become symbiotic with this. But your doctor's saying, well, hey, you need, whatever. Feel that. Sometimes we need that, whatever the doctor is giving us to get the human body on track. And you might not need it for as long or whatever, but it's really important to feel what feels right to you. I've, heard like, stars and different stuff. They're like, oh, he's not treating his cancer, he's talking to it. They make fun of it. So really tap in and say, am I fearful of being made fun of? Am I fearful of being judged? Whatever it is. And follow your path, because trust me when I say you will get to that point. Everybody is going to get into that point, regardless of how they get to there, of recognizing that you are really truthfully a superhuman and you can have symbiotic relationships with everything. It's a matter of really starting to trust and have the faith in you and what you truthfully know. And I love that whole analogy, Tracy, that you used of, here, okay, I can, experience something this way, but wait a minute, here I'm whole. So do I want to bring this awareness together or start to, okay, this is what I'm doing, but I want to, make sure I'm whatever, I guess, honoring that wholeness piece of me. And I'm pretty sure we talked about this, Tracy, before in one of them, where about that whole aspect that sometimes we do need the physical whatever for the physical body as a validation or as a, I just need this right now. Like I can't even begin to tell you the last time I think about, like, Advil used to be my best friend.
Big joke about that.
Right. And I'm thinking about, I'm like, wow, when was the last time I took an Advil? And, there were points that like, it was like every day for a while. So it's interesting that you don't even recognize the changes and the shifts that you're making, but be aware and start to create a little journal if you have to, of just the little differences that you notice. Take your time at the end of the day and look at the differences and do exactly what Tracy did or does. When you go back in, go into that state of true presence. And how the healers are saying it is people think, and this is going to be a huge one, I think, from what, I'm seeing and what I know breath to be, but they're saying people have been taught a way of breathing of you have to take a deep breath in to relax and you've got to, exhale out. And they're saying, really be honest with yourself and feel if that feels right, because very few of us breathe the way we're supposed to breathe. And they're saying there's so many different ways that people are teaching breath work. You have to feel what feels right to you. And now that, they're saying that, I had a conversation a couple of days ago with a friend of mine. And when he's working, he says, I forget to breathe. I just then I realized, oh, I didn't breathe. And I take this big breath in. But what was very interesting about this, they were telling him that silence right there, that time when he's thinking he's not breathing, he really is breathing. That for him, that's the right way to breathe. He has to, I don't know how he was doing, I can't remember, but he has to start to recognize and realize that point where he's thinks he's not breathing because the human brain says, oh, I have to go in and out, in and out. Or if I'm going to relax, I have to take a deep breath in and I have to exhale out, which I'm going to sidetrack, which is interesting, Tracy, because if you notice, like in the change makers and different stuff, when I'm doing the meditations, they're saying just let your breath be exactly as it is.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, interesting. But for him and for a ton of people, the real magic and the real state of presence is in that time when he's thinking he's not breathing. So that quiet space. So when you're breathing, and if you can hold your breath for, well, they said eventually get up higher, but the normal person will be able to hold the breath between normal breaths, not I'm gonna take a deep breath and I'm gonna hold it and I'm gonna exhale. They're saying you take just your normal breathing, and then when you hold it right in that middle, okay, like I just inhaled and I'm gonna hold it for so long, and you time it. They said most people will be doing like 20, 23 seconds. You want to get into like the 40-second point for the ones that this vibrates with. Some of them are going to do different things. And they said, when you're in that state, whatever breath work works for you, when you're in that state, you're in such a great state of presence. And you will begin to notice that you really are breathing when you think you're not breathing. Your system is showing you and telling you, and this is coming forth. They're saying in the next few months, this is really going to be big in the world. You know how sound healing came up? Like, I don't know, like 8 months ago, whatever. It seemed like everybody was talking about the sound healing. That came up into the awareness. Now it's the breath that you're going to be noticing. Recognize which one feels right to you. I know whenever like I'm doing, they're like, take a deep breath in and exhale. That really is difficult for me. That's very difficult. But they're saying like, pay attention because that's going to bring you in that state of presence. And when you're in that field, Tracy, you're able to go into that. Like when you go into that presence, at night and during the day, all the times that you do that, they're saying, and you probably already noticed this, your breath is completely different. And they're saying, so that's what people will start to recognize, that they're not breathing, but you really are. And I remember I used to do the chi machine all the time and oxygenate your body. Then I would do it a half hour in the morning, half hour at night. And when I would do that, there'd be a point where number one, I didn't think I was on the floor anymore. I swore I was levitating, but I would never put my, because your hands are down, I'd never put my finger down to find out because that would freak me out. But I remember many times sitting there because then when it shut off, you'd feel this like rush of energy or something go up your body. And I remembered for the longest time, I would just lay there because it was such a great feeling. And many times I was like, oh my God, I haven't been breathing. But I was breathing. I just wasn't breathing the way the human thought it was breathing. And you're in such a great state. You're really holding that state of wholeness, because everything just quiets down and everything just is. Which is just so amazing. I don't know how I got on that whole sidetrack, but you got anything with that?
We always talk about totally different stuff when we but it's funny you said that because I do go in that state of, I call it pure presence, pure creation, and they're a little bit different. Pure presence is just like 0 point nothing. And then pure creation is all the stuff starts to happen. But the other day, funny you should say, it was like this understanding of breathing through your pores, like not even breathing through your typical. It was this just like experience of, well, what if your whole entire was just like kind of a breath, And these are the things I just let my mind wander, and it's cool what comes in, and then, just interesting to theorize on, or, oh, that's cool. Let my whole body breathe in and out,
Yeah, I love that because it's funny that you said that, because when you were saying that, I'm like, oh yeah, I recorded a meditation recently and they were doing because they're all channeled, right? So they were saying, okay, just let your breath show up the way it wants to show up, and now like feel it moving, feel your feet breathe. And I can't remember exactly how they were doing it, but it was like, again, the whole body was breathing. And as I was recording, I remember feeling that. I was like, oh my God, my whole body is just like breathing. Like it was like the whole thing to me. And I'm sure it was exaggerated because they were like, look, Renaé, look what's happening. I felt like the whole body coming back. But it was really cool So I love it. And clearly, we're having this conversation because this is what's coming forth. And if we really think about it, doesn't it make sense that we have to recognize the whole body is one and breathing together in that field? And it's not about breathing through the nose and the mouth and all that, because that, again, is a human limitation that we've just been taught and trained. Like we lost our way at some point, right?
Well, and it's the breaking all the boundaries and outlines. Just combining words, boundaries. Not sure where I was going with that. But we talked in another episode about don't visualize your organs and your bones.
Mm,
You're one, it's that whole unity, oneness, and you can start with it just in your body and to really I don't know the right word, but give permission, allow, think about. It's just this, you're just this one cool like organism of life, this body. And then of course we're always in collaboration with everything around us, but it's happening. I mean, we know it is. All the boundaries and definitions are in progress. They are changing. Science will at some point. I don't know if science can ever catch up because there's no catching up.
right.
There's It's like we talked about off air. Science and math is so finite and we're infinite that it can't be boxed and bottled like that. It's going to be so fun and fascinating to see. Um, but if you're in pure creation, you don't need all that. You don't need
Right.
all the explanation. You don't need the experts. You're just having an awesome time, just being cool.
Yeah. And just when you said that, I was like, oh, yeah. When off air, you were talking about when you were hearing those tones.
Yes.
Try to remind me. And so if you can share that, because it's that point of realizing, like, oh, no, I don't need to know this. I'm getting that on some level. But if you could share that story, I think that would really land for people.
So, and I'm sure most of you out there are hearing like kind of tones and stuff. And I think it's coming online, being a little, more prevalent. And it's not tinnitus. We're really starting to expand everything. But I was laying the other day and it was such a definitive tone and pitch. And it was very unique and unusual. And I knew it was so, of course, I go straight to the fun. Oh my God, it's a ET trying to talk to me. I'm trying to- Like, I don't understand that. Can you speak English? And it was such a funny exchange of play, call whatever you want, like a dialogue, an intelligence, cuckoo brain of mine, making up a story. It doesn't matter to me what your interpretation is. But here's me, like these very distinct tones and ringing and the symphony in my head. And I was like, oh, someone's trying to talk with me and I don't understand what they're saying. And then I'm trying to negotiate a language that I can interpret and understand and was very quickly told that's not how it works. Can you just like shut up and receive? Like, oh, I could try. But Renee and I are also talking about how it's kind of getting out there that ET exchange it's going to be, and it's going to be common probably within a year or two. And, I'll be the first like to try and get some cool. I want to get right in on the action before. So I don't know that I guess I'm always open to see what's out there. And here's what's cool. I do not much at all operate from a point of, oh, I need protection because I think I have so firmly put it in my default. That's all I do. Like my field is so strong. Any shenanigans, I have so many we can say this so many ways. Like I say, no, there's so many levels that people have to pass the stink test to get into my field. I don't worry about it because it's just not, you know what I'm saying? Like there's just no entry point for you. However, that wants to be said. So I do have fun exploring with all of the stuff that can potentially come in and come into my awareness. And then I'm like, listen, it's my experience. I'm creating it. It's not going to go south. It might get a little clunky chunky. Holy shit, Renee, what did I do? Anyway, I just went all over the board, but anyway, you go.
That's what we do, and people tend to follow us. Like my sister Michelle's like, I love that you guys are all over because that's how conversations are.
Well, and that's, yeah, they're fluid. And then I hopefully we're hitting multiple people with multiple examples of, oh, wait, okay, now that I get that other stuff you said, what don't know you're talking about.
Right, exactly, exactly. But if you do like it, make sure you hit subscribe, leave us a comment, and put the notification bell on. But I want to jump back to we were saying like earlier about the feeling, feeling the people and all that. And what I remembered was, and people I know experience this, when all of a sudden you'll go in. My neighbor was telling me this the other day. She wanted to go into a store. Now she hasn't seen this guy since they graduated about 30, 40 years ago. Okay. So all of a sudden she's getting ready to go into the store and she's like, oh, I wonder if I'll see whatever his name was. I wonder if I'll see Leonard in there. And she's like, oh, that's a weird even thought. So she walks in and who's right there? Leonard. So the truth is we're feeling these people anyway. And people are like, oh my God, that was so weird. I was just thinking about the person. What you were doing is you were feeling their energetic field. Okay, so it's starting to recognize and not just pass those off. It's like, oh well, that was crazy. That was weird. Oh, how weird is that? Like, wow, look at that. Like I do feel, because I don't know about you, Tracy, but I always get a lot of people that are like, well, I don't do that. I can't do what you do. I don't feel energy. I don't see energy. I don't. Yes, you all do. We were all born this way. If you look at any child, they're so connected. It's just as a matter of them as they're moving through life and being told, no, you can't, or no, this isn't right. And they said school is the one where they really get squashed. So it's because then they're judged by everybody, not only the teachers, but well, you didn't see angels, or you don't do this, or you don't, and then the fear of being judged and not fitting in with the crowd. So they're saying, start to recognize, start to remember, oh, wow, look at that. I did feel energy because I felt Leonard's energy, or I felt, what, and even though the energy is always changing and shifting, there's still a common denominator feel to that person that you're tapping into. So start to realize and recognize that. The more you're doing that, the more awareness is going to come around. The more you're speaking to whatever the issue is that you're having, like if it's an allergy or whatever, have the conversation, become symbiotic with it. And I was talking to somebody the other day who said, I don't do any of that stuff. I've never been able to. And we were just having like a normal conversation. I didn't say, well, do this, do that, da, da, da. We just were catching up. That was it. And then all of a sudden that night they were texting and it's like, oh my God, I had this conversation, with my Achilles heel, and I had this, and this is wild. This is crazy. How is this happening? Because we're having this conversation, you're listening to it, your awareness is being heightened. We are opening this field of just your presence. And Tracy and I are always just holding that field for you and ourselves.
Yes.
And, just start to be aware, and you'll start to recognize a lot of stuff. Don't just go in your day-to-day life like, this is what I do, and da, 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 da. Really feel it, open up, to be aware, to be ready to receive messages, whatever, because they're coming, whether we like it or not.
And because definitely this happening for me, the more you'll be giving the opportunities for stuff to come up. And sure, if, me too, I'll use a very real life, I thought these lawsuits were over with my businesses, and here they are again. And I just said to Renaé, seriously, how many routes can you get to, and it's just business stuff, and it's nothing, it's just like an irritating gnat, you know what I mean? And not, well, yeah, to downplay the people that are doing it because it's stupid. But anyway, or even like health stuff, like, this stuff, oh my gosh, why do I have this itchy bump on my neck again? All the things, because now, oh my gosh, like I can't even keep up with all the things that are coming up. And even if I spend, a couple minutes or an hour, or half a day, and they're like, God, are you serious? Then I go, what are you doing? Yeah. Yeah. Look at it right there. It's right there in front of you. What are you going to do? Oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if it really, this is hugely significant for me, most of it doesn't matter. I mean, it really, in the scheme of things, It's all the play that we have been buying into of all the garbage in life. You know what I mean? Um, the moms, not to play, people have serious stuff going on and that's a thing, but again, it's everything is here for us to be looked at. So whatever scale of seriousness or intensity, we got to look at this stuff, and not in a fearful way and not in I'm going to go down a rabbit hole of old dialogue and old, solutions. But because I will say it's coming up globally, I'm sure a lot of stuff, and to just always be compassionate with yourself, always, but kind of, oh, look what else I get to look at and honor the days. Like I think I said it earlier today when we talked. I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, I just don't even care. I'm done. Like, I'm just done. That's okay. And then an hour later, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good. I'm back.
Yeah. And I think everybody goes through that. And, like you said, if you're going through something serious, just always keep yourself open to, okay, let me just, if you want to say it like raise, we're all on that same level, right? But if you want to say, I just raised my vibration a little and let me see this another way. Because your body wants to thrive. Your body definitely wants to thrive. So it's going to throw out these little things to you to pay attention and say, hey, I need a little help here. Start to communicate, see what's really going on. And I know people, in the past, used to say to me, well, yeah, I'm communicating, this is getting worse. Or you're not really truthfully. A lot of times it gets worse before it clears because it's getting everything up and out. Okay, but
I think that's where we're at.
yeah,
We're at a great upsurge. Yes.
yeah, exactly. And then what happens is, what are you going to do with it? How are you going to see that? Oh my God, this is horrible. I thought this was getting better and now it's getting worse. Well, okay, now you're creating it getting worse. You have to up level it and like, well, wait a minute, look at it from here. Oh my God, how exciting. This is getting out. Like this is, and recognize the little things. Like, for example, I had a dream on Sunday that I had gone into the chiropractor. My lower back was all screwed. I was all hunched over. I was like, oh my God, this hurts so bad. And he's like, that's okay. We'll get you. Don't worry. And he put me on this machine that usually when it drops down, I'll feel the stretch in my lower back. And I couldn't feel it. I was like, oh my God, I'm not feeling it. Like, if you could have heard me in this dream, it was so ridiculous. I was reminded about everything. I'm not having to do it. So I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, my back is still killing me. And then I moved. I'm like, wait a minute. No, it's not. What? So I was like, what am I doing? But I got online and I scheduled an appointment for the chiropractor that night. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not letting this thing get bad. And when I went in, he said, oh, your hips are a little off. They're out of alignment. So had I not really, like, my body was like, okay, look, she's probably not paying attention to me during the day. So I'm going to give it to her in this dream and to know that the hips are off. If I had ignored that, I'm sure it would have gotten so bad that I would have been like, oh my God, probably in there whining like I was. But it was a point of being aware of it and saying, I am doing something about this. And what was really sort of cool was it wasn't even like, oh, I should, call the chiropractor. I should get online and schedule an appointment. It was just like, this is what I'm doing. Like it was such an automatic thing. And that's what I'm recognizing in my life. And I know you must be, Tracy, that things are just, I don't have to think about anything. I'm not thinking about my day. I'm not planning the day. I don't have a business plan. Like all the old stuff that we had to do, it just drops in. And I'm like, oh yeah, let's just do that right now. And it just is getting done and done and done. And everything is just in such a beautiful flow that I don't even know how to describe it. It's just so peaceful and so calm, and everything's just falling into its place. So
Yes, we did talk. And it's not funny. I went to the chiropractor yesterday and I don't go to the chiropractor much anymore. And that's where you're at. Stuff just drops in and you're like, okay. And you know what's cool? I go and I was talking about Avery moving and I'm going to get her air purifier. And she's like, oh my gosh, I get those at wholesale. I can have it shipped right to her. And I'm like, looky, looky. Who knew? And I got an adjustment. You know what I mean?
don't you realize, like, when I walked out of there, when not even like I got up, I'm like, wow, like, yeah, I was off. Like, I just,
Yes. And yeah, because I went, I'm like, I think, will you? And she's like, no, it's actually your pelvis. And I was like, oh, she's like, you walk on the beach a lot? And I'm like, yeah, every day. And she's like, is it really slopey? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, oh, so just be mindful. I'm like, that's why I have you.
Exactly. And you know what's crazy? And I'm gonna sort of like put this out to everybody. If you have a great experience anywhere, please take the time to thank that person, to let the manager know, whatever it is. Because what was interesting was I then came home and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do a post on, there's this next door app. Do a post on there, about this. And I did. I started off like I thought it was great. I because even when I walked in the company, I said, I feel great. I feel absolutely great. But I had a dream last night and it's what happened. So I had actually started off that post like I thought I was feeling great, but had this dream, went into the chiropractor, this is what happened. So I just did this great review because he doesn't adjust like normal chiropractors. He really listens to your body. I don't know how he gets my body to do some of the things it does, but it's amazing. So I did that. And then all of a sudden I'm getting these, responses like, oh, great ad, great this, that like judgy thing. And I just responded. I'm like, it's not an ad. I said, if you see it that way, that's okay. But this was my experience. I said, and anytime I have a great experience, I make sure I leave a review or I call up, I make sure I talk to the manager, whatever it is, and tell them what a great experience there is, because there's so many negatives out there that people are saying. They will always complain about the negatives. It's so rare that you hear anything about the positives. And it was crazy because when I said that, it was like all of a sudden the feed like lit up with all these really positive things. It was like we changed the energetic field of it, like, somebody judging it for what it was or what it wasn't actually, and or what they saw it to be, I guess. And then all of a sudden it was there. Oh my God, yeah, you're right. This is going to do. And then it was just amazing what ended up happening with that. It was just, crazy cool. So just be aware and just start to put a little more positives out there, because it's easy to complain about what we judge as negative. And remember, we're bringing it to us for a reason. So if something's happening negatively, look at it. It's always a reflection of something that's inside of you. So look at it and say, oh, okay, let me just change this around. I love, Tracy, you gave us, I think it was, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 times ago when you were talking about that building block and you just hit it, with the energetic tuning fork. I love that because I'm telling you, I was doing that every single day, everything that was coming up that I felt was, this is not good. Or I'm like, no, of course it is. Of course it's good. I'm going to go right into the building block of that. I'm just going to hit it with all the sound healing. And I would see it like just hit, and then all the stuff coming out. And it's amazing what always, from an energetic point, what I could see moving out of it, and then how it turned into like the sparkling stars and then enveloped back into my entire field in a very good, positive way. I very rarely do that anymore because everything just is unfolding. But as soon as I recognize something, like when that woman said that, oh, great ad, like, and I was like, okay, let's hit that with all the sound healing. We don't need that building block in us. Why would I be judged that way? That's not my intention to put it out there. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, this is how I'm responding. And then it just lit up beautifully. So that to me was like gold. And if you are not doing, if everybody listening, if you're not doing that, just having that thought be that building block that is creating whatever it is that is causing whatever in your system that you don't like, or your experiences that you don't like, hit it with the energetic tuning fork, with the sound channel, whatever it is that comes to you. You will be shocked at how your life changes so quickly. And in the beginning, I felt like I was doing it a second of them, like, oh my Lord, I'm negative. I'm like, what is happening? And then all of a sudden, it's like I was just thinking, I'm like, wow, when did I do that last? I'm sure I probably did this morning, but I don't remember, because you just keep moving. Exactly what you had said earlier.
And you kind of almost do it subconsciously. And what I have switched, and I think I mentioned this before, when you want to, because a lot of people have stuff going on and, oh, can you send some good vibes? Can you, and I don't do the energy work, or, when people are traveling, I, do a golden path for them, stuff like that, or whatever it is. Now, it's such a reverse of what I used to do. I used to send them stuff and carve the way and bring in. Now I just bop that, and I just hit that within them. And then you described it so beautifully. I see it so well. It's almost like they're their true self goes, oh, and then all that distortion in their field starts to, so it's not me putting something in, it's tuning them on. And
Yes.
then you shake out all that. Just, it's so cool. And the fact that it's so easy, I don't want to downplay it, that I see it so easily, that I see the effects of it so predominantly. You just said it. It's this cool, like, however you want to see it. But that's what I do now, still myself. But
Yeah.
on other people, what do you got going on? What are you saying? Hold on. Ding! And it's all like, it's just that stuff just gets pushed out of their field or dissolved or transmuted or transformed, whatever. It's all going on. Trust me.
Right.
There's too much that is going on to even describe it, but wow, it's getting cool.
Yeah, I agree. It is very cool. And I love that because we continually, it's showing the how we as the humans or whatever are evolving. Like the things that used to be years ago that I would say, or that, that was done, where I was like, oh my Lord, like I look back and I'm like, my God, that was so limited. But that was the space and that was the energy we were in. So as we're
Yep.
all waking up, things are getting so much easier, so much easier, so much easier. So if you're, listening to anybody, that's us included, take what resonates with you and leave the rest. But what resonates with you, bring it to the next level. Say, okay, how can I, do this better, or what, like, because just having this conversation, we're all in this particular field. Okay, regardless of where we're, if you could say, oh, well, I don't know what they're talking about, whatever. You're in the field, you're hearing this. So you're in this field, your system is taking this in some way, shape, or form. So it's like, okay, how can I bring this to the next level? That's what I always do. I always like, if I'm listening to somebody speaking or, on all those shows, all this stuff, and I'm like, well, all right, let me tap into what whoever's giving them that information, and how can I make that better? Or how can I, because I'm usually all about the overall consciousness, right? So I'm like, okay, how can we change that for the overall consciousness so that the whole world wakes up on a whole another level, or whatever it is we need to be at our next level? And it's always crazy. Things will come in. Things will always come in. Some I'm aware of, some I'm not. Sometimes I'll be like, I didn't really get anything. But I know there's this knowing that's like, yeah, you did. The human brain can't even comprehend it because the language is so limited. I was like you saying, can you bring that in English?
Right.
That English is like way too limited. We can't even, right? So it's really an interesting times. And I think like everybody's going to just, feel the energy that, we have right now in this conversation, everything, and know that it's changing every second. But so if you come back to this and you listen to it again, you'll feel completely different because it's continually shifting and changing and changing and shifting, which I just think is so freaking amazing and phenomenal.
I'm going to give you a little, I have been doing this lately and I told you about this, Renee. Ask Google AI, whatever, a question. And then the next day, I do the same exact search. And it could just be me, but now it's fun to me. The answers are totally different. And remember, Renee, I said I went and won like Grok and then Chat GBT and then like a
Yeah.
craft Chat GBT, and the answers were so different, which is so funny to me because, oh, of course, Google knows. If Google says it, it's got to be true. You know what I mean? And I was showing my daughter, and I was like, we just did this last night. It's a totally different answer. So that is how quickly consciousness is growing, evolving, changing, and AI keeps like it's such a fun little thing, which I know that might be, but wait, what's the right answer? Well, that's the point. There is no right answer. Like,
Mhm.
anyway, of course, make everything into a fun little game, but try it. Ask and make sure your wording, well, I make sure the wording is exactly the
Yeah.
same. So I didn't switch a word or say it a little different, but a fun little play on how it's changing really quick.
I love that because you're right. Because even with us, if you're asking yourself something like, okay, body like this, is this right for me? It might not be 10 minutes from then because you're shifting and changing. The minute you do anything, you're changing your entire aspect. And it's that whole point of, I can pick up one of your books, Tracy, and read it. I was like, oh my God, this is so crazy. I can read the exact same thing the very next day, and it is so completely different how it comes through to me. It is amazing and yeah, crazy cool. But it is what it is. Like, this is the world we're in. So be open to seeing it, feeling it, experiencing it exactly how you have to, and honor what feels right to you. If you do that with, ChatGPT and Grok and all those things, well, which one feels right for you in that moment? And go back and ask it again, like whatever, a half hour later, see the difference. That will give you validation that, oh wow, I did change, I did shift, even though you don't recognize. That's what I love about the AI. Exactly, you saying that, because you're getting all these different answers, and oh my God, well, which one's right? Which one resonates with you at that moment? No, which one resonates with you tomorrow, or the afternoon or the evening? It's giving you a validation and a shift that, oh my God, I did change, I did shift. The overall consciousness is shifting. And people can say, oh, but AI, it's growing. Okay, yeah, it's growing because we are a piece and a part of that whole point. And I know people that are, afraid of AI, but I say just leave yourself open to it, to possibly recognizing that this could help you in some way, shape, or form. And just be open to it, I guess. That's all. What do you got? Anything else?
No, that's good. Be open and yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep saying it. It's getting so interesting.
So we'll say be open, and but Tracy always says choose wisely.
Wisely. Yep.
And if you like this, subscribe, give us a comment, the like, whatever, turn the bells on for notifications, because if you notice, today is Thursday, the 12th, well, in the United States. And a lot of times we post on Monday. So we don't ever know when we're going to post, when we're going to do.
We're being fluid.
Exactly. We're going with the flow. So everybody, have a great day. Have a great time.
Next time.
What do I always say? Have a Jesus. I can't even. I say it all the time, and I'm like, have a great time creating your day. Apparently, that's out the
It's
window.
all changing.
I can remember it. I use it all the time. All right. Have a great one, everyone.
Bye,
Bye.
bye, guys.